clear of the closing doors, please.
All right, here we go. We are not live on Subway Sports Talk. My name is Peter Kennedy, and I am your host. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning into SST on Apple Podcasts app, Spotify, and on YouTube. And right now, I just cannot believe how quickly we can lose the plot on a basketball team. The New York Knicks, yes, they're down 3-1, but the way people are talking about this team is as if they're about to get booted in the first round by a trash opponent. And the plot gets lost so quickly that I don't understand where people are coming from anymore. When you think about this New York Knicks team, you can think about a lot of things. You could be excited about some. You could be quite disappointed about some others. But at the end of the day, the reality of the situation is this team made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. The series is not over yet, and the opponent across the line from them is a damn formidable opponent. Those are just facts. And now remember, two things can be true at once. You can be disappointed in what's happening and what's transpired, but also you should at least admit that this series was incredibly close up until this point. Is that not true to you? Because right now with the Knicks down 3-1, yeah, of course, it feels like the sky is falling. It feels like this team is hopeless, like they need to make major changes, like they need to rewrite the entire franchise moving forward. That's not the case. Because in the reality of this situation, and I know hindsight is 2020, and I know you can't change the past, and I know this is all hypothetical. But when I hear things about this team being cooked, the team doesn't make sense, the roster isn't good enough, the team got blown out by Indiana Pacers, all of those things are not true. All of those things don't make sense to me. It took an absolute all-time meltdown or an all-time comeback, whatever you want to call it, to lose game one for the New York Knicks. All time. Broken win probabilities on ESPN's stupid little tracker on the bottom of the screen. That's what happened in game one. All-time stuff. The Knicks should have won game one. The Knicks could have won game two, and that's an important distinction. Because they should have won game one, and they could have won game two. And now they won game three. So if we're being honest, assessing what has transpired in the Eastern Conference Finals, to me, the honest assessment is this has been a damn even series. It wasn't until game four that it felt like the Knicks got truly beat bad. So we're talking about 4 games in a series where they won one pretty well off. They should have absolutely won another pretty well off. Then they lost a tough one in game two. This is a blowout to you? This is a team that doesn't belong on the same court to you? To me, that's ridiculous. To me, that is not understanding how the game of basketball works. If you're saying that right now, you're probably the same person who are saying that the Indiana Pacers got their doors blown off last year in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's telling on yourself. Last year in the Eastern Conference Finals, the Indiana Pacers played 4 incredibly impressive games against the Boston Celtics. In fact, you can argue without a series of a doubt that the Indiana Pacers were the most difficult matchup for the Boston Celtics on their title run last year. Much more difficult than the Dallas Mavericks in the finals. The Celtics dominated the Mavericks in the finals. They did not dominate the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals. So again, we lose the plot so quickly. We go from this team should be a huge favorite before this series to, oh my God, they can't even play with the Pacers, blow it up. It's not a team problem. It's not a Knicks problem. It's not a Pacers problem. It's a you problem. It's not understanding the scope of what we were entering into this series. And now I was on this podcast and I was on T.O. Allen Friends on Uptown Sports TV, and I predicted the Knicks to win this series. But if you listen closely, because the big picture matters, I expected this to be incredibly close. I expected this to be an all-out war again. Just like I did with the Detroit series, and frankly with the Boston series, I expected it to be close and a battle, and I expected the Knicks to lose. And that's why the big picture matters. Are the Indiana Pacers and Knicks surefire a better team than the Boston Celtics this season? No. That's how the cookie crumbles, my friend. Are you sitting here today saying the Indiana Pacers are surefire winning 100% of a 7-game series every time they try to go at it? If you do, you're wrong. Look what's transpired in the series. We have amnesia every time. Oh my gosh. This team doesn't make any sense. Brunson and Cat don't work. Josh Hart is cooked. OG doesn't know what he's doing. Mikal was a waste. How can we say Mikal's a waste today when last week we're screaming his praises because he won them games single-handedly in the fourth quarter? Can we keep an honest look at the plot for this team and for this franchise? And again, I'm not telling you not to be disappointed. You should be. I am. It sucked watching game 4. That was horrible. To watch that game the way it transpired. Yeah, the refs stunk, and it made me furious when I was watching my television. But that's not why they lost. They got beat. The Pacers are good. Halliburton's a monster. But to think all of a sudden the Knicks are in a different class, they don't belong here, is wrong. And frankly, the series isn't over yet. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you to go put your mortgage payment on the Knicks to come back in this series. I'm not dumb. I'm not losing money like that. I put out a TikTok talking about how I put some money on the Knicks to win the series after game 1. I got people asking if I had to sell my apartment. No, that's not how I operate over here. I also operate in reality. Reality is the series ain't over. As we've learned, this series, most importantly, is that every game is 48 minutes and every series is 7 games, best of 7. Those things don't change. Now, also part of this reality is that New York Knicks can come out here in game 5 and win. Thursday night, they can win that game. Does that mean they're going to win the series? Absolutely not. But I know what's going to happen. All the Knicks fans out here, all of us hyped up in New York in the tri-state area, if the Knicks come out and win game 5, hey, we just got unlucky. The ref screwed us in game 4. We're back, baby. Knicks in 7. No. These things are not as momentously shifting as you think they are. They're ongoing. They're fluid. They're constantly moving, constantly changing, constantly up, constantly down. It's how playoff basketball works. These standard narratives that get thrown out there constantly by fans and media alike are just not reality. We all know, and it sounds like a cop-out, and it sounds hypocritical, but it's the truth. We all know the Knicks could easily be tied 2-2 in this series. We know that the Knicks could easily be up 3-1 in this series. They're not. Why is that? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the specifics of it. We already covered game 1, all-time choke job, all-time comeback, call it whatever you want. It was a little bit of both. We know that. That could have been a win. Game 2, the Knicks played a decent game. Let's keep it a buck. The Pacers played well too. The Knicks played a decent game on game 2. They could have won that. And obviously they won game 3. Now game 4 is the one that sucked. I get it. So what has been the key components to their L's? What has been the key component to not completing this finals run? It has been lack of discipline and aggression on defense. And to me, it's been getting bogged down in the Indiana Pacers style of basketball. That's fact. Now, I heard someone say something that was so interesting today, and I wish I had this guy's name. I see him on TikTok all the time. They call him Unk. He's part of a podcast. He's fantastic, and he's an older dude. And when he says something that really hits a string for me on, in the modern day era, when you've seen all these older folks who are out here bashing the modern day, that's not what he's doing. This is what he said. He said the New York Knicks created a team to beat a NBA champion, not to be an NBA champion. That was so profound of him. And if you don't understand fully, I'll explain it right now. We all talked about it in the offseason. We all talked about it after the trade for OG Anunoby and then Mikal Bridges and then Karl-Anthony Towns. The Knicks are building themselves to beat the Boston Celtics. Well, guess what? They did. What they didn't do is build themselves up to beat everyone, to play every style, to be the all or nothing team that these champions truly are. To me, that was so profound. Because what do the Pacers have that the Boston Celtics don't? First of all, it's speed. The Pacers are pushing it. Off a free throw, it feels like they're in a fast break. It's ridiculous. Speed, number one. Is that a strength for the New York Knicks? I'm going to say no. The Knicks have a lot of strengths because, again, a lot of people out there, when they see something go wrong, oh, this team sucks, they got nothing good. We know that's not true. And I like to think that the Subway Sports Talk faithful are not one of those people who are saying that, right? But speed is certainly not one of the Knicks' strengths. What else is an Indiana Pacers strength? It's a guard. His name is Tyrese Halliburton. A lot of people here in New York hate this man. A lot of people around the league think he's a cornball, think that he is the worst quote unquote superstar out there in the league. This dude's a baller. Tyrese Halliburton is legitimately a superstar in the NBA. And if you still, after this series, don't think he's in that conversation with the Jalen Brunsons, with some of the Ant Edwards types in this league who are still looking for that first ring, still looking for that first time over the hump, still looking for that first time where they own the spotlight, I don't know what to tell you. Because all this dude does is play an infectious, fast, friendly style of basketball. And when I say friendly, I mean with his own teammates, where he inspires ball movement, he inspires confidence, and he inspires pushing people towards their strengths. It's very simple. I was on producing with my guy Anthony Gallo on WFAN this winter in the midst of the Knicks season when things were going a little bit meh, right? It was going a little bit okay at the time. And him and I both very calmly understood that this Knicks team was coming together, they were playing better, and we had faith in them to get to where they needed to be. And if you said at this point, when we were talking in December or January, whenever it was, that they were going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals, you would say that's where they need to be. Because at that point, all bets are off. Let's go. Balls to the wall. Make it to the finals, right? We would all agree with that. Now, the way this transpired, everybody changes and loses the plot, like I said, right? But what I said to Anthony Gallo that day on WFAN was I do wish that Jalen Brunson played a little bit like Tyrese Halliburton. And I stand by that. And if you get pissed off at that as a Knicks fan, hearing me say those words, you don't understand what I'm saying. You might not understand basketball, and you certainly don't understand the basketball player that Tyrese Halliburton is. Because Jalen Brunson's incredible. I think 99% of people in the media, in fans who aren't Indiana or Knicks fans, would probably lean towards Brunson being the better player. The All-NBA thing says it this year. What he's done as a scorer says it for the past few years. And how he showed up in the playoffs so far to this point, outside of one or two games here, has proven that as well. But what's the one thing we complain about most with this New York Knicks team? It is when the ball sticks. It is when the offense becomes ISO Brunson, when it's so Brunson reliant that Mikal finally touches the ball on the wing and hasn't looked at the ball or the hoop in 9 minutes. We all agree on that. That's frustrating. Because we know this team is at its best when the ball moves and the players move. That's just facts. They go on their runs like crazy when the ball moves and they're in transition and they're getting up good shots and they're cutting without the ball and they're getting open shots without Brunson having to dribble the ball 14 times. Do we all agree on that? When you watch Tyrese Halliburton, do you not see that? Do you not see that exact style of basketball? And now he's a rarity in this league. I get it. And I don't think Brunson needs to change his whole style where he is just push, transition. No, that's not his game. That's not his strong suit. He's not the same build. He's not the same athlete as Tyrese Halliburton. But the most important thing is the mindset. It's the infectious style to inspire confidence in all of your teammates. I mean, when you see an Aaron Nesmith, a TJ McConnell, an Andrew Nembhard, a Ben Shepherd, a freaking Pascal Siakam, I don't know why I said freaking, he's the best one of the little guys I just named. But when you see these dudes find shots and rip them, find lanes and smash through them, You think that happened overnight just because all those guys are individually amazing? No, they're following the lead of their star. It's exactly who Tyrese Halliburton is. Now, he's not the most assertive finisher at the basket. He's not the most, I got to find my shot guy in the league. But what he is the most infectious player we have in our league right now. He gets a rebound, he's gone. Not looking to score right away, looking to get someone open and then looking to score. He's in the pick and roll. He is looking to either find his go-to shots or get in the lane and find one for somebody else. It's a simple game with Tyrese Halliburton and all the flash and all the stuff that he does where he stole Jalen Brunson's celebration. Yeah, it pisses you off. I certainly am one who sits here in my couch as a Knicks fan and gets pissed off too. But when I take myself back, when I sit back and relax about what's going on right now in the NBA, I try to think, what would I think if I wasn't a Knicks fan watching this series? What would I think if I was a Western Conference fan where my team is out of the playoffs and I'm just enjoying some basketball right now? I would say, yeah, maybe that guy's a little bit of a dick, but I love how he plays. And that's just the truth. Is he a little dickish sometimes? Perhaps. But the style that he actually plays the game physically with the ball in his hands running up and down the court is almost as perfect as you can ask for from a point guard. It's true. Tell me all you want. He's a cornball. Oh, he's not as good as Brunson. He's not even a top 10 player. Well, guess what? He makes Aaron Nesmith better than he is. He makes Andrew Nembhard better than he is. He makes Miles Turner better, Pascal Siakam better, Ben Shepherd better, and then freaking TJ McConnell. I don't know how he makes him better necessarily, but he allows him to do what he does. One thing that happens with Jalen Brunson is he doesn't always allow these other guys to do what they do. And sometimes in this past series against Boston and earlier on in this one against Indiana, you really saw Brunson say, yo, Mikal, go get one. Mikal, run this pick and roll. I'll find a spot. Hit me if you need to. Those things are important. And in summation, where this brings me back to is the coaching staff for the New York Knicks. There's a lot of talks out there how Carlisle's running circles around Tibbs, how Carlisle is, out coaching Tom Thibodeau, and Thibodeau just doesn't have it to be a playoff successful coach. It's not his thing. He's a regular season guy, whatever. All this stuff comes up over and over again, right? To me, the Tom Thibodeau failure part of this season hasn't taken place in this series against Indiana. I'll nitpick. I'll tell you a few things I don't like. I'll tell you that I felt like he was reaching pretty hard, basically saying, oh, yeah, you want all the bench players? Here are the bench players. That stuff bothers me a little bit. But the reality is all the complaining that was going on all year about the minutes, which was really based upon keeping the starters fresh, right? Keeping Brunson fresh, keeping OG healthy, keeping Cat healthy. That was what the complaint was about. There were also complaints about, can we see if these other dudes have any worth? Because now what happens is you throw in DeLon Wright, who hasn't played a lick since he joined the team. You throw in Landry Shamet, who hasn't played a meaningful minute in about a month and a half. You throw in Precious Achiuwa, who hasn't touched the floor in the playoffs. They're supposed to be good. Campaign, he gets to play, 6 minutes every 1.5 weeks, 2 weeks. He's supposed to be good. Deuce McBride's been one of the most successful bench players for the Knicks in a long time. His minutes get shaved down now. Where are they supposed to find consistency and confidence, right? We talked about Halliburton over there. Halliburton does not play nearly as many minutes as Hart, Bridges, Anunoby, Cat, or Brunson. Is it because he's not as good? Is it because he can't handle it? There were points in that game where he sat on the bench. I'm like, what the hell are they doing? They're unstoppable with Halliburton on the floor. Keep him out there. But they trust their team. They got these dudes who know what they're supposed to do. They got these dudes who are used to being in situations that have some pressure on them because they do it all year. And the overarching thing to me is if this Tom Thibodeau-led bunch believe that their starters are the absolute reason why they're going to get anywhere, and that's the only way they can get anywhere, that's the wrong assessment. Because you look at every team right now, every team in the playoffs, that had success, they had 8 dudes, man. And I know the lineup usually tightens in the playoffs, and the Pacers are the outlier who still play 10. They're the absolute outlier. But those 3 dudes who come in off the bench, they got to do something for you. And for them to come in dry with no expectation of a role, with no understanding of how to handle certain pressures, that's freaking difficult, man. So I don't think Tibbs failed this team so far in the Pacers series. I think he failed the team over the course of the season. And I think all these things come together. And if the Knicks can't figure out a way to make a run back into this series and go 7 and possibly win it, you have to have that real conversation, which I'm not going to do yet. I'm not going to do that yet because the series is 7 games. Every game is 48 minutes. So I'll gladly have a conversation about Tom Thibodeau's future with the New York Knicks after it's over, especially if it's as expected at this point to go in the Pacers' way. But it's going to be a conversation because that's the reality of it all. There's a lot of factors that lead the Knicks to this point in time. It is great play from some great stars. It is some solid play for some wonderful bench players like Miles McBride and Mitch Robinson. But in reality, the strength in numbers doesn't exist here. And I'm not one to super lock in on, all these statistics for just the playoffs with plus minuses and things of that nature because it gets convoluted very quickly. It is not a large sample size. But at this point, in the playoffs, you have a sample size, man. You have something. You have a lot of lineups, about 20, who have played over 100 possessions together. And right now, 2 of the 5 worst lineups in the entire playoffs who have played over 100 possessions or more are Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby. One of them is with Mitchell Robinson, and one of them is with Karl-Anthony Towns. So these starters that were supposed to get you there, they haven't. And also, on the flip side, because I keep it a buck, and 2 things can be true. Don't point to me and say DeLon Wright was a plus 16 last game. I liked what DeLon Wright did, okay? But there's a reason for that. He was in against the backups for Indiana. He played much less minutes, and the entire team around him did a lot of good stuff as well when he was out there, okay? So I'm going to keep it fair, but all I know is the Knicks, for over hundreds of possessions now in these playoffs, have been best when Miles McBride is out there. They have been best when it's not the full group of starters. And I give Tom Thibodeau some credit for trying something different with the starters. And I would even be willing to accept if he takes a step back on that again. A lot of people say, no, you got to die on your convictions. Have conviction and go for it. I get that train of thought. But I also think doing something and not making assessment and moving forward could be wrong as well. So game 5 is on Thursday night. There's a chance you're listening to this on Friday. And, well, frankly, if the Knicks are done Thursday night, I'm probably recording something else after tomorrow night. If I'm just being real, right? So hopefully you're not listening to this on Friday. But if the Knicks are done on Friday and they didn't try something new and they died with, on the hill that they got here on, I'm okay with that. If Tom Thibodeau makes an assessment based on what he's seen so far in this series and tries something new, I'm okay with that. What I don't want to see is Tyler Kolek all of a sudden. I don't want to see Pacome Dadier. I love those guys. They haven't played a lick of meaningful basketball this year. To throw them out there is truly just searching for a miracle. I was having this conversation with my brother-in-law. You know the phrase, catching lightning in a bottle. To me, you can't try to catch lightning in a bottle. It's insanely difficult to go out there with a bottle and try to catch some lightning. I'm keeping it as simple as the words that I'm saying. Don't think about it too much, but think about it enough. What you have to do is put yourself in a situation where it's more likely for the lightning to be caught, and then the rest is kind of out of your hands, right? And to me, Tom Thibodeau was on that tightrope, throwing in Shamet, throwing in DeLon Wright, switching out the Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson starters move. At 1 minute, I said, he's really trying too hard to catch that lightning. It's not going to work. But at the same time, some of those dudes, they have enough, reputation to earn that shot, right? Landry Shamit's played in many playoff games. Mitchell Robinson has been super impactful in this series already, right? So they're putting themselves near that storm to try to catch that lightning. I get it. But you can't go out there and go so crazy and say, yeah, I'm gonna catch this lightning in a bottle with Tyler Kolek. No. If he played some meaningful minutes this year and had some fourth quarter moments, maybe a game where Brunson was out, we saw him play awesome. Maybe their game where Miles McBride wasn't shooting well, you went to him off the bench and he did some real things. Because you know who does that? The Pacers do. The Timberwolves do. The Oklahoma City Thunder do. And now, granted, I've gone a little all over the map at this point. But if you heard me to this point now, 30 minutes into the show, 25 minutes into the show, you get where I'm at. I'm just as frustrated as you are. I hated watching Game 4 just as much as you did. It was brutal. But I also understand that the bones here are still good. The New York Knicks are in the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years. If you replay all these games, there's a strong, strong chance the New York Knicks are tied 2-2. There's at least a decent chance the Knicks are up 3-1. To sit here and say, blow it up, trade everyone not named Jalen Brunson, fire Tom Thibodeau before Game 5, which is a joke, that's too far for me. I'm always going to keep a hand on the plot. Always. For as passionate as I'll get as a fan, standing up from my couch 8 times in a fourth quarter, maybe more, maybe not even sitting back down. I'm with you guys, riding and dying with every moment. But I also have to keep it real. And I also have to look at this team how we would look at other teams around the league. As a fan, it's so easy. Oh, we're fried. We're cooked. Good night. See you later. This team's screwed. We'll never be back here again. Pacers didn't do that last year, I'll tell you that much. They got their asses swept by Boston. But they knew the reality of that series was it was a lot closer than it looked. A lot closer. And right now, to me, it feels like this series wasn't close because we always just remember the most recent outcome. And they got beat in Game 4. They got beat good. But in the entirety of this series, they're not getting their asses handed to them. They're not in a different class. They're right here. They're eye to eye. The style that they're playing in Indiana makes it feel like an avalanche when they're hitting. But we've covered it. This series has been close. And if you don't see that, you're just in your feels right now. And I understand that. But hopefully this moment, listening to Subway Sports Talk, can help you at least think about the other side of this story. To me, it's important to do both. It's important to fan out. It's important to be irrational a little bit. But then you have to come back to earth at some point and understand where this team actually is. And if you're throwing the words Leon Rose out there in a negative capacity about where this team is right now, miss me with that. Miss me with that. Because if you think, oh, well, if they just kept Hartenstein, you don't know what you're talking about. They couldn't keep Hartenstein. They weren't allowed to give him as much money as Oklahoma City. Ugh. Don't say stuff like that. You're telling on yourself, right? Leon Rose has done a masterful job putting together this team. I've trusted him up until this point, and I am not giving up any trust anytime soon. You definitely should not either. So Game 5 is on Thursday night. Gosh, I'm like working myself up again for Thursday night. Here we go. I'm ready to say the Knicks will win Game 5. However, that makes me incredibly nervous about Game 6. And I also could see them getting beat. I could see them losing Game 5. I really could. I'm predicting them to win. but I would not be shocked if they lose. I hope for a very competitive game, because what I don't want to see is this team that has given its all, this team that has brought the Knicks to a conference finals for the first time in 25 damn years, to go down with their heads down. I don't want to see that. You shouldn't either. If you want to say, take me out of my misery, quote unquote, and take a 30-point lead and go back to your hole until October, knock yourself out, not me. I want the smoke. I know the Pacers are good. I give them my respect. But I know the Knicks are good, and the Pacers should be given some respect back, because they should know that this series has a couple coin flips in it. Let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it a quarter, perhaps. Coin flip. Get it? Boom. But that's all I got. The New York Knicks are not dead yet, technically, and it ain't over till it's over. 48 minutes, 7-game series. That's all we got. Subway Sports Talk. It's been a lot of fun on TikTok, I got to tell you guys. If you listen to the podcast and you're on TikTok, check us out at Subway Sports Talk. Just had over 100 comments on 2 videos in the past week talking Knicks Pacers, so having a lot of fun with that. Just trying to put some good stuff out there every day, and also on Instagram and Twitter at Subway Sports Talk and YouTube as well. But the TikTok conversations and the comments have been very fun. Pacers fans getting in the mix, Celtics fans popping in the mix, obviously a lot of Knicks fans in the mix as well. So it's been awesome, and thank y'all for listening. But if you get to this point of the podcast, you clearly like it a bit, right? So check it out every week. Subscribe to the podcast app. Subscribe on YouTube. Drop a comment. Drop a rating. 5 stars. You know what to do. Hey, maybe even send me a DM on one of those socials at Subway Sports Talk. Mean the world to me to hear from people who listen to the pod. So shout out y'all. I appreciate you every single time I do this podcast. Every listener is important to me. And one step at a time, baby. We keep going. One step at a time for the Knicks. One step at a time for Subway Sports Talk. But that's all we got. We will talk to you soon. Cheers, and let's go Knicks.